Previously on Geezerology 2.0. Let's spin the wheel and see where we're going next. We're going to have a look at, that's a Bob's choice, a Woody Allen film called Radio Days. Hello, everybody. Radio Days is a 1987 offering from Woody Allen. It was his 16th film, and I went and counted. Bob, do you know how many movies that Woody Allen has in his directorial filmography now?
Off the top of my head, no, but I'm going to guess it's probably going to be a startling number.
Guess. Take a guess.
40.
Bill.
120. No, 30.
50. 50.
Wow.
He had his 50th one in 2023. It was called Coup de Chance, but it was a French language film. It was never released in the United States. But he is working on his 51st film, according to Wikipedia, called Wasp 2026. 90 years old, and he's still working. Man.
Wow.
This was Radio Days. This was his 16th film. And this was, Bob put this on our watch list for this month. So, Bob, take it away. Tell us why you wanted to watch Radio Days again.
All right. Well, thank you, Scotty. And if you'll indulge me, I kind of need to set the stage for this. And actually, this is not watching it again. I had never seen it previous to this. I grew up kind of with a fascination for radio. I remember in my grandparents' house, they still had their old, tall console radio, back from the old days. And for a while, we had a next door neighbor who was a radio DJ in my hometown, and I actually mowed his lawn, when I was a young kid, and I always thought he was really cool. And for a while, I actually harbored this fantasy about seeking a career in radio until I realized that I had absolutely no talent and, that I needed to go find something realistic to do. And so I remember that in college, I had a broadcast management instructor, and Scott, you'll remember Kevin McAndrews. He was a station manager for a TV station there in Springfield, and he came up in the golden age of radio, and he would regale us with these stories about, working during that time. And I actually listened to some old radio programs. I listened to War of the Worlds, and I've got an app in my phone where I can listen to some of the old radio shows and stuff. And on some long trips, I've kind of listened to them. And it's a neat medium, and radio is a medium of the mind because all you're hearing is a voice and sound effects. So you're creating a picture in your mind of everything that's going on, and it's a wonderful medium. So when we were looking for movies to watch, I saw Radio Days there. And I looked at the synopsis and I said, this sounds like it could be interesting, because of my interest in old time radio and such. So that's why I picked it. And I'm really sad to say, I'm kind of sad with myself that I didn't see this a long time ago. I was a big Woody Allen fan in the 70s. I think I saw probably just about everything he did, Annie Hall, Bananas, Take the Money and Run, everything he always wanted to know about sex, et cetera, et cetera.
That was in the first 20% of his filmography.
Yeah, exactly. But by the time the mid 80s rolled around, I just kind of stopped paying attention to him. I think maybe I got tired of the neurotic Jewish nerd, that he always played. So I just kind of stopped paying attention to Woody. So this is why this one went past my radar. But anyway, enough about why I wanted to see the film. Radio Days is Woody Allen's nostalgic look back at his youth. He was born in 1935 in New York. This film is set in Rockaway Beach, New York. It starts in the very early 1940s and covers a time span that ends on January 1st, 1944. It centers around a multi-generational extended Jewish family living in one home. One of the central characters is a young boy. probably modeled after Woody Allen. Woody Allen wrote and directs this film, but he does not act in it. However, he serves as a narrator, tying everything together through the course of the film. There's not really a plot per se to this film. It's more a series of vignettes. And we focus on various members, of this family. And then there are also interspersed with scenes from radio stars and the other, things going on backstage, I guess you could say, in radio. So, like I say, it's just a series of vignettes that are all kind of tied together. And Woody Allen's narration serves to move, from one vignette to another. These vignettes are funny, they're poignant, they're dramatic. So he runs the gamut here with this film. I think this is a marvelous film. I just absolutely loved it. It starts out with a couple burglars breaking into an apartment, and while they're there, the phone rings. So they decide, okay, we're going to answer. So they actually answer the phone, and it's a Name That Tune radio show that has picked that number at random. So these burglars actually correctly answer all of the tunes and win the prizes. So when the family comes home, they come home to a ransacked apartment, and then the next day, all of these big prizes are being delivered to them. So that's how the film starts. And it just jumps, like I say, from scene to scene to scene. And it has a huge cast. We get Mia Farrow in here, Danny Aiello, Tony Roberts, Jeff Daniels, and Woody Allen also manages to get some actual radio performers in here. Kitty Carlisle appears in a singing commercial for coffee, and then famous announcer Don Pardo. You could hear his voice in here. It's very nostalgic, obviously, and you see the impact that radio had on the people of this generation. I mean, it brought glamour into their homes, it brought music, it brought news. I mean, can you imagine being in World War II and listening to Edward R. Murrow's voice saying, this is London, telling you about the Blitz? And you see that in this film. There's one very moving vignette where it's about the rescue of a young girl that's trapped in a well, and everybody, and you actually see scenes, from the rescue effort, and then people, glued to their radios trying to, wanting to learn the fate of this girl. Very reminiscent of the old Floyd Collins incident where he was trapped in a cave. There are some very funny things in here. There's one scene when World War II breaks out. The young boys are out with binoculars, on rooftops, scanning for German planes and submarines and such. And they happen to see this woman undressing in her apartment. So, of course, they're focused in on it. And then the next scene is they're in their classroom and they're being told they're going to have a substitute teacher. And it's this woman that they watched in the apartment. There's one very, very moving scene where the young boy, who's the main character of the movie, is on the beach by himself after his friends have left, and he's looking through the binoculars, and he actually sees a German sub surface. But he decides he's not going to tell anybody because he doesn't think they'll believe him. But German subs actually operated off the East Coast of the United States, and they sank shipping along there. So, Mia Farrow plays a cigarette girl in a nightclub who has an affair with one of the radio stars. They get trapped on the roof of the nightclub where she's working because the door locks behind them. And then it starts to rain on them and everything. Ultimately, she does become a radio star, but there are some interesting detours on this. She got fired from her cigarette sales job, so now she's a hat girl in another nightclub, and she witnesses a mob hit. And the hitman sees her, takes her captive, and next thing you know, they're driving through his car, and he's talking about, sorry, I'm going to have to rub you out. But instead, he winds up taking her home to his mom, where the mom fixes her, a big Italian dinner, and finally tells her hitman son, hey, you can't kill her. She's a good girl. Use your connections and get her a job in radio. So she actually does get a part in a radio production, but it premieres on Sunday, December 7th, and it gets preempted by Pearl Harbor. But she ultimately does become a radio star. The movie ends with all of these radio stars gathered on New Year's Eve for a big party at the nightclub where Mia Farrow used to work as a cigarette girl. They end up going up onto the rooftop to bring in the new year. And that's the end of the movie when we move into January 1st, 1944. And it's very moving because Woody Allen's narration, starts talking about memories of your past and then how they kind of start dimming as time goes by. And the movie ends with the picture of this top hat that's going up and down. So that's the way he ends the movie. It's very poignant, but funny at the same time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. These vignettes just come, past you at pretty rapid speed. I think it's a film that you probably could go back and watch over several times just to re-pick up, some of the things you might miss as these vignettes speed by. It also captures, I think, the impact that radio had on the average person's life because they vicariously lived this glamorous world of these radio stars. And also it's the behind the scenes look is kind of interesting because there's one radio character who plays this intrepid crime fighting person, but in real life he is a short, bald, nebbish kind of guy. So a very amusing film, very moving at the same time. I really enjoyed it.
Bill, was this the first time watch for you, or had you seen this before?
I had seen it before, and sort of like Bob, I was a big Woody Allen enthusiast for quite some time, and then probably just about this point was or perhaps another movie on, I started to kind of lose interest in following his work, but I had not seen it in quite some time. And similar to Bob, I have, growing up, kind of a tenuous connection to radio, especially this golden era from probably the late 20s through the mid 50s when it was at its zenith. I have this family story, which sort of like Woody Allen's story is, I don't know if it's half mythological or accurate enough, but my grandfather ran the family business in Meriden, Connecticut, and it was a coal company. And one of the sponsors of The Shadow, which was on the radio in the mid to late 30s through the mid 50s, was sponsored by Blue Coal. And as a result, he had gotten an invitation to come down with the family to watch this being, broadcast, one of the Shadow episodes. And I like to think, because my father was probably about 5 or 6, that when he went down to New York, that as my grandparents told me, somebody in the cast talked to him before the show went on, probably because he was kind of young and they didn't want him making any noise during the broadcast, but they were very nice to him. And when I was looking back at The Shadow, I realized that the first one, which would have actually worked with my father's upbringing, was with Orson Welles as the Shadow. So I like to think that Orson Welles actually talked to my dad. I don't think that really happened, but somebody did. So the radio always meant something to me as a kid. Even now when I go to sleep at night, I listen to old radio shows as my lullaby, essentially. So when I looked at this movie again, I was reminded of how memory is, quite vivid, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily square up with the reality of what happened. So some of these production portions of the movie, which are, as Bob said, they're all little vignettes. I mean, if you were looking for a plot, there isn't really a plot. I mean, it's how the radio is a background to the family growing up, and it's a big extended family. So there's, essentially two families living together because of monetary issues in one apartment in Rockaway, Queens. And, everybody's engaged with everybody else's business, but the radio is always on in the background, and the radio is a part of the family. And the Woody Allen character, of course, is enamored with the Masked Avenger, which is the little nebbishy guy that Bob's talking about in real life. Mia Farrow is, she becomes, in the end, she's kind of like Luella Parsons or Hedda Hopper. She's this social commenter, and you can't imagine this girl who was a cigarette girl at the beginning with this very strong Brooklyn accent becomes a very elegant speaker because she's taken language classes, and the whole background of these little vignettes kind of unspools, and the radio, as I said, is always in the background, and sometimes the radio gets played very loud. And one of my favorite little snapshots is when the uncle of Woody's character is so upset by the next door neighbor, who's also Jewish, but he's playing the music loud on the Sabbath, that he goes over to talk to him. And of course, before he goes over there, he goes, I don't know if I'm going to get through to that guy. He's a communist. Anyway, he goes across the back yard into the next door neighbor's yard, and they start arguing. And it turns out that the character who's portraying the communist is Larry David, who, of course, goes on to great fame as the co-writer of Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. But he's putting up this
I did not recognize him. Yeah.
Yes, he's putting up this very strong argument. Anyway, when the uncle comes back, he's actually convinced by the arguments that his communist neighbor has put forth. So I find that very interesting. The movie is great. To me, again, if you're looking for a plot, there isn't one. So that can be very irritating to people who want to invest time and want to see a beginning and an end. And there really isn't one, except to say that there's memories involved, and memories get dimmed over time. But in this case, Woody's kind of keeping those memories a little bit more alive over the course of time. It's got a cast of thousands, a lot of characters, a lot of people from the Woody Allen company, essentially the repertory theater that he uses in a lot of his movies, Tony Roberts, Danny Aiello. And one of the most impressive things is very much toward the end, Diane Keaton is a torch singer, and she looks gorgeous, and she sings this beautiful song. And the soundtrack of the movie, of course, is quite impactful. Again, I grew up as a big band fan, and that's the kind of stuff that soundtracks the whole movie. And I think from what I gather, it was a successful endeavor. It made its money back and then some. And for my purposes, it's very, very loving, humorous, touching, no plot. So don't, if you're going to get worked up about a plot, this is the movie that would really set you off. But if you're just going to kind of go with the flow, I think you'll find it quite enjoyable.
Yeah, this is what I call like a slice of life. There are a couple of little minor subplots going on there that you follow over the course of time, but they're more of the background than they are in the foreground. Mia Farrow's evolution from cigarette girl to gossip columnist on the radio. We kind of see that here and there. We check in on her now and then and see how her character is developed. But yeah, that's just because they're slice of life, and it's all built on these flashpoints in time over this period, and the flashpoints in time being like big events on the radio, right? We get a quick scene of what happens to a couple of characters when they hear the Orson Welles' War of the Worlds broadcast, which is a pretty funny little scene. When Pearl Harbor happened, New Year's Eve, and other flashpoints. The little girl who's in the well. Apparently, that was a big thing back when it happened, before our time. It was pretty cool. I really don't have much. My only background in radio was that when I was a kid, listening to Cardinals baseball games on my transistor when, and that was pretty much my only connection to radio. I was brought into a TV household. I Love Lucy was my earliest media memories is watching I Love Lucy, and even before that. Now I'm talking about it. Howdy Doody. My mother brought me up when I was a young lad on the Howdy Doody show. On TV. But this is all TV. It was all TV. This is this pretty much is nostalgia for my parents, right? Woody Allen is the same age as my mother. My father is a couple years older than that. So I'm sure if they watch this movie, this would bring back a lot of memories for them. To me, it was just basically a period piece, no connection to me. But what I got a kick out of, there's this big cast, a lot of funny characters here, all pretty much stereotypical extended Jewish family in Queens, and Woody Allen. I kind of took his narration was basically just a distillation of his old stand-up routine on the Borscht Belt, and that's how I took this movie. This was pretty much Woody Allen just putting pictures to his stand-up routine, which is how he started his show. But he started as a stand-up, doing Jewish family jokes and things like Myron Cohen. My favorite character actually was Julie Kavner, who neither of you guys mentioned. I've always enjoyed her. I just think she's so funny. She always basically plays that same character, but she does it so well. I find her funny.
Well, she's Marge Simpson.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I'd forgotten about that. I just remembered her from Rhoda, and then from seeing her in other Woody Allen movies. That's where I remember her from. I liked this movie. I enjoyed it. There was some great one-liners in here that made me laugh out loud. There were a couple of funny moments here. As a complete movie, I just thought it was kind of a throwaway, but that's because I really had no connection to the subject matter here. But I still found it pretty funny. One of my favorite lines in a movie was Mia Farrow. Bob mentioned that scene where they got stuck up on a roof with her philandering boyfriend, and what happened? They went up there for a quickie, right? And so they show him walking away. You see him pulling the zipper up on his pants and. And she was rushing. She said, "I got to get back to work. I'm on break. I'm on a 10-minute break." And so I see him pulling up his pants and said, "Oh, we got that done pretty fast." And then she goes, "Yeah," and it really helped that I had the hiccups. I fell out of my seat when she said that. It's like, where? I thought that was great. It helped that I had the hiccups. And then Julie Kavner had a line that I love. They were talking to a therapist or a preacher or somebody, but her and her husband is sitting there. And she looks at her husband. She says, "I love you, but I really don't know what I did to deserve you." And these are all just like I say, typical Woody Allen stand-up lines, Myron Cohen stand-up lines. That's what I was. I felt like I was watching a string of stand-up performances on the old Tonight Show where these guys used to show up and do this stuff all the time. And the scene where. The one scene where they're in the studio and the Diane Wiest character is in the studio and she wins a prize because she was able to identify species of fish.
A member of the family was always bringing fish home from work.
Right. And the other one that made me laugh was the sports reporter who was talking about the baseball player who went to war and he lost a leg, but he came back and then something happened. He lost his arm, and but they showed him out there pitching with one leg and one arm, and then something happened. He went blind. he said, but he still came back and won 14 games after that. A great American hero. And pitching this guy as a great American hero. It was so ridiculous. It was funny, But a lot of funny stuff here, and I really liked it. And I enjoyed picking out the familiar faces. And one that I missed Larry David. I missed that one. I didn't recognize him, but one that I did see, and I'll bet neither of you guys saw this, was William H. Macy. Did you catch William H. Macy?
No.
It was on a scene where they were in doing the radio play. There were about 6 or 7 actors crowd around microphones when they busted in to do the to make the announcement on Pearl Harbor. Well, one of the guys standing at the microphone never said anything. He was just standing at the microphone was William H. Macy, and then he turned around and walked out of the room whenever they had. And I was sitting there. I saw him. I recognized him right away. I said, I wonder. I was waiting for him to say something. He never said anything. You just saw his face and he walked away. And another cast note. I was watching this kid who's playing the young kid in his family. I was looking at this guy, and I was going, this kid looks familiar. Who is this kid? Who is this kid? And finally, about near the end of the movie, I couldn't stand anymore. I picked up my phone, looked at Wikipedia. I saw who this kid actor was, and it was Seth Green.
Yep.
I thought, yeah. And now I go back and look at going in and pulling some images. To use, and I see these pictures now, the still photos of the kid, and it's like, exactly, that's him. Seth Green, that's what this T-shirt is. Know what that is? Dingoes ate my babies.
Yeah.
Seth Green was, I'm sure you guys don't know, Seth Green was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yep. And Dingoes Ate My Babies was the fictional band on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Seth Green's character was the lead guitarist for Dingo.
That's right. I forgot all about that.
I enjoyed it. I didn't have the sentimental emotional connection to it you guys did. I just kind of I enjoyed it as just to pick out some funny one-liners and to pick out appearances by actors that I was familiar with, and I say all these people who turned up in every Woody Allen movie, and one thing, the one scene near the end, it made me wonder, what is the record, Bill, for the most number of romantic partners that Woody Allen had in the same movie?
Oh, that's a good question. Well,
this one had 2 that I know.
Well, that's got 2 that we know of, right?
And I don't know how all that conversed at the time. Who knows? But I thought that was kind of weird. Bobby, what's your rating on this on a 5-star basis?
I'm going to give it a 4. I think it was, I like it that much. A 4.
Bill?
3.5. And I also liked it a lot. Probably one of my favorite late period, I guess actually then we have to call it mid-period Woody Allen movies.
Actually, this was 16. He's got 50, so his top third, 33%. It was about the 33% mark. I'm giving it a 3. Like I say, I didn't connect as a movie. It was fine. To me, it was just kind of a throwaway, another Woody Allen movie. But But there were enough good laughs in there that I enjoyed it, and I wouldn't mind going back and watching it again. But it wasn't something that I thought was a fabulous movie. So yeah, 3. I'll give it a 3, which means our average is Bill's right on our average on that, 3.5. Okay, thanks everybody. Stick around. We'll show you what's coming up next. So long. Next week on Geezerology 2.0. What are we watching next week? So we go find out?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's hit the wheel. And next week, we're going to be having a look at another Bob pick, Red River. This is a John Wayne Western. Thanks for watching, everybody. Did you enjoy this video? If so, please smash that subscribe button and drop a comment to let us know what you think about the movie we just discussed. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time on Geezerology 2.0.